So I'm going to call the meeting of May 15th, 2017 of BUHS number 6 to order at 7 o'clock. And let's start with the approval of the minutes of the May 1st meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. Is there any additions, deletions, corrections? Yes.
I just, under attendance, I believe that was me, and you were kind of, if you were called to go to Putney.
Yes.
It was, so I would like to, based on our previous discussion about such situations, that Ann be listed as excused as opposed to absent.
Oh, okay. Very kind of you, Bob. Thank you.
Good catch, thank you. Is there anything else? Any other changes or corrections that need to be made to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions?
I abstain.
Are there any communications for the board that came to the board members? No? Okay. So we'll move on to recognition of groups and individual visitors. And we have a couple of visitors here that are part of our presentation that Mr. Perrin's going to do. So I think we'll do that now, do that presentation, and then we'll go into do consent agenda in the rest of our meeting. That makes sense?
Sure.
Okay, great. So I'll turn it over to you.
I would like to use the LCD projector, so if I could ask the three of you to find some seats.
Yep.
Watch the forehead.
Yeah, watch it. Yeah. So, what I'd like to present tonight is the latest iteration of the BUHS Code of Conduct for Extracurricular Activities. But before I get to that, I want to introduce, most of you know Chris Sawyer, one of the main architects of this, and he's done an incredible job of getting research done, talking to other schools, talking to other athletic directors, fielding student questions, and so I want to give Chris a lot of the credit for this. I'm thrilled to introduce Jacqueline Penson. Jacqueline is our athletic trainer, and she's also a BUHS graduate of 09. Jacqueline came to us last August, and she has done a phenomenal job this year. She's been a great addition to the athletic staff. She's done excellent work with the concussion protocols. She's done an excellent work working with students who are injured, getting them back into play when appropriate, and in some cases, not getting them back into play when that's appropriate. So I want to recognize Jacqueline's hard work this year as well. Give me just 1 second to set this up. One thing that's important to note as we kind of go through this code of conduct is tonight we're going to talk about athletics, but it's important to note that we do have codes of conduct for all of our co-curricular activities, and that includes things like band, chorus, other clubs and groups. So even though we're talking about athletics today, this co-curricular code of conduct does apply. One of the reasons, well, there's two main reasons why we're going to talk about athletics today. First of all, frankly, it's the one that's most public. It's the one that most people are familiar with, the one that most people hear about it. The other reason is that it's difficult in some of the other co-curricular groups to really define a consequence appropriately. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. So this process started, Chris, 2 years ago?
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah. So
About the last few years.
So during that time, we've gotten input from student groups. We've talked to student council, athletic leadership. We had a core group of coaches. We had boosters come talk to us, parents, and we've had 2 full faculty meetings to kind of talk about the earlier drafts of this policy. So like healthcare, who knew it could be so complicated? But we've spent a lot of time getting it right. We also reviewed it with the administrative team. And as I said before, Chris has done voluminous research around the state. And we found some policies from high schools that were 0 tolerance. The first time you had an infraction, you were done for the season, to the other end of the spectrum. So we think we've struck a balance that works for us. And we'll talk more about that. So, as I said at the onset, this does cover all of our co-curriculars. Tonight we're going to focus on athletics. Part of the reason is if you consider for a second, let's take band. A lot of the performances and public things in band are graded. They're part of the class. So it wouldn't make sense and it wouldn't be appropriate for us to say, if you violated a code of conduct, you're not allowed to do those things because you're actually hurting the student for something they're getting credit for. One of the things that band, chorus, and theater does is one of their consequences is for a certain period of time, students can audition for extra things like states, districts, things of that nature. And at a later time, I'd like to bring those to the board to kind of look at it in more detail. It's tough because you don't know when the next concert is, whereas with an athletic season, you're pretty clear on when the next event's going to be. Does that make sense? So what I've done is I've kind of taken a little bit of the code of conduct. I have hard copies, but because I used to teach high school, I kind of know if I give that to you, you won't follow along. So first of all, Chris has done a great job of making sure that the new policy is based on the core values: respect, relevance, community, and responsibility. Our new policy has the same prohibitions as the old one. Things such as drugs, alcohol, prescription drugs, vaping, all of the same things that are currently considered to be prohibited items. Our old policy was a 4-year, 365 days a year policy. Students would come in as freshmen, they would sign the policy, and then that policy was in effect until they graduated. This new policy is a little bit different. The new policy takes effect on the first day of school, and it goes through graduation of that year. 2 exceptions to that. One, for fall sports, it begins the day of the first practice, and it goes through graduation. For spring sports, it would go through the last event. Chris, what are some events that would go on after?
We go through the last event or graduation, whichever is later, oftentimes because of rain or whatever. It's possible a state championship could happen after graduation. So it would go through whichever the latest date is.
Yes, sir.
How do you violate the code of conduct before the first practice? Or is there such a thing?
Well, under the existing policy, if a student drinks, uses tobacco product, any controlled drug, that's a violation of the code of conduct.
Now it's not.
Right, now we're starting on the first day of practice. The chemical policy, again, I've taken the old and the new, and you can kind of see the differences. The old policy, a first violation, a student would lose 25% of the scheduled games for the season. They'd also be referred to our SAP, Student Assistance Program Counselor, and need to comply with whatever recommendation she brought forward. Under the new policy, the first violation is 15% of the season, or 2 games, whichever is larger. A second violation under the old policy was for the remainder of the season. Now we're going to say it's 50% of the games. Not the remaining games, but the games that would be in the season. Once again, in both cases, a referral to the student assistance. And then for the third violation, a calendar year in both cases. And once again, a referral. It's been pretty rare that we've had a student go to a third violation in a given year, to be honest. That doesn't happen very often. Under the old policy, if a junior or senior violated the policy, they were removed from captaincies for the remainder of their time at BUHS. So a student who violated the policy in the fall of their junior year would not be eligible to be a captain ever again at BUHS. Under the new policy, if the student is currently functioning as a captain, their captaincy is revoked for the remainder of the season, and they cannot be a captain through in their subsequent season. So if a student violates a policy during soccer. They would be removed as a soccer captain. They also would not be allowed to be a basketball captain. Two seasons. Also, under the old policy, no junior or senior that violated would be eligible for athletic awards. Under the new policy, just seniors would not be eligible for athletic awards. Another change is something called a self-report. And a self-report under the old policy was an opportunity. It was written initially to offer assistance to a student. So a student would violate a policy, and they would go to their coach, go to Mr. Sawyer, come to me, and they would do what's called a self-report. They would say, listen, I messed up, I was at a party, I drank, I want to get some help. And the whole idea of the self-report policy was that for a student who was seeking help, they could come forward, get the help they need. And in exchange for that, we would cut their period of suspension in half. What we've found in recent years is that's kind of morphed almost into a race. Can I self-report before I'm caught? And there really isn't any thought about getting the help that a student might need. It's really become a game to say, well, can I go self-report before I get in trouble? And so we've kind of decided in this policy, we're going to remove self-reporting as an option. But we do want to assist those students who are struggling, so we do have something in place for them.
One question,
Sure.
The senior awards, isn't that the same thing? No senior athletic awards or senior not eligible for awards? What's the difference there?
So in this policy, that's specifically for the athletic awards for seniors, such as the Stolte Cup, the Monroe Cup Principals Award. They are still eligible for other senior awards and scholarships.
In the new policy? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, because we want to make sure that we're supporting students that are in need, and Chris came up with the first bullet, and so if it works, it's his fault. No, it's a great idea. For a student who comes forward and says, I'm in a treatment program, the act of them telling us that they're in a treatment program is not a violation of the policy. So, we've had some cases in the very recent past where students are actually in a tobacco cessation group. We know they're in a tobacco cessation group. We could, under our current policy, say, well, you violated the policy because clearly if you're in this group, you've used tobacco. That's really not fair for a student who's seeking help. So what we're saying at this point is we're saying that if a student lets us know, listen, we want you to know that I'm in this group for tobacco cessation, I'm in this group for another addiction that I have, we're going to say that's not a violation. If they tell us up front. It may be that student then violates the policy, then that would be a first violation. But the act of them saying, I'm in a program to get some help, we don't think should be considered a violation. Along those same lines, as I mentioned, the third violation is extremely rare. And so we also want to kind of understand that different students recover, like all of us. They recover at different rates. They're ready to return to action at different rates in terms of their social emotional well-being as well as their physical well-being. So we do want to leave it open that third violation is a calendar year. But if that student comes forward and lets us know, and this would all be highly confidential obviously, that they're in a program, they're getting the help they need, we could let them return to play sooner. I'm not saying like that season or even the next season, but it might be appropriate for that student, especially as they return to health, that they be allowed to play and that they be allowed to participate. So we're kind of leaving that door open. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions about the chemical policy? Woody?
No, question on the timing, so I'll save it for later.
Okay, sure.
Just so I can understand on this on the council policy, for a second violation now, let's use football as an example because it's usually a simple round number. If there's 10 games, if somebody violates at game 5, but they can't lose 50% of the games if it's their second violation. So how would you handle that?
It would carry over into their next season.
Of whatever sport they
Whatever
played.
sport
So if they
they
played basketball, it would affect
Right.
basketball or baseball in the
Yes.
spring or whatever. Okay. All right.
So, academics. Our current academic eligibility program is a little backwards, I think. Currently what happens is a student demonstrates through their semester grades that they are not doing well. They failed more than one course, their average is less than 70, so they're placed on what we call academic probation. That student then starts the season as being eligible to play. When they become ineligible, so if they fail a course and their average drops below 70, we check their grades every 2 weeks. Once that student violates that policy, they lose the rest of the season. I understand the reasoning behind that. The reasoning behind that is we want to let students come in, start the season, get off to a good start, and keep their academics up. But as conversations I've had with several of you, they can lose that season after 2 weeks. That's a pretty big risk. So in the new policy, what we're saying is that students that were in good standing the previous year and incoming ninth graders are eligible for the first 5 weeks of the season or of the school year. They're eligible. Students that in grades 10 through 12 who had failing grades in the previous semester are also eligible. So we're all starting ready to play. A new one this year or next year will also be that students will be required to have a habits of work score of 2.0 or higher. I have that rubric to share with you. Habits of work grades, class participation, attendance, behavior, and collaboration. And we're just asking that students have passing grades. We're not going with an average. We're saying if you're passing, you're eligible. So if you're passing, 60. So it's it's doable. So if a student is passing and their habits of work grades are 2 or higher, they're eligible. For that student who is ineligible, that student's habits of work grade or they're failing to score, they would be unable to play or travel with the team for a week. At the end of that week, we look at their grades, and we're not looking at the grade for the week, we're looking at the cumulative semester grade. If they're passing and their habits of work scores are back up again, they're back on the field. If they're not, they sit for another week. They do practice though, because one thing that I think Jacqueline would be very upset if I said they couldn't practice, because then you might have a student who hadn't stepped on a field in 2 weeks going into a game situation, and that's an injury waiting to happen. So we do ask that they practice. At home games, we want them to sit with the team. They cannot be in uniform, but they can't travel with the team, because if they're going to miss time in school, they really should be working on their school. So we're saying they can't travel. And then for those students, we would check their grades every week for the duration of the season. Okay. Well, that's it. Questions?
Just maybe give us a little background and thinking on the timing, not having it year-round, but just starting when school starts? Or maybe the other way around, why was it originally year-round?
I believe the state gave us some models that we probably followed early on. And I think we just kind of got stuck in that. I don't necessarily want to say it was the Vermont School Board Association, but it was one of those organizations that had a model policy that most districts followed.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, school does it, other schools follow.
Yeah.
Some schools try to do something different, it might work, it might not work. So throughout the state, there are many schools that have the old policy like we had. There are a few schools that had in-season only, so not just the school year, but in-season. And then there were a few schools, probably several schools, a lot of schools our size who had school year only. And I think one of the big reasons is, you know, when students come in as ninth graders and they put their name on that form, I think they're just writing their name on a form so they can play sports. They're not really thinking about everything. And by limiting it to a season or during the school year, you know, they're coming into school, they're coming into a sport, they're putting their name on something they can commit to. You know, it's a shorter term, it's a goal. So short-term goals hopefully will lead to long-term habits and not an abstract idea. And the other thing is, during the summer, we lose connection with a lot of kids. You know, when they're in school, they have a base. They have adults, they have other friends, they have a lot more supports. So I think it's something that can help them. You know, we're here, we're all in this together. So that first day of school, that first day of the season, they're ready to commit and I think make it a worthwhile process where they're really thinking about what's going on, you know, and what it takes.
Yeah, I just have a sort of a big picture question. Because a lot of this, you know, sports is good because, you know, they like to win and you know, some students will be working hard to do these things just because their goal is sports. But I guess it's a question of the role that sports plays in an academic institution. I think, Chris, you were talking about that, of even though their incentives may be just to get on the field, of if you have a sense of what that means for the development as of the student, not just as an athlete, but as a person and as a learner and as a citizen. And I don't know if there are anecdotes or what it, you know, that importance, the importance, not just about sports, but how that.
Well, you know, I guess a couple things. I think Chris's comment about short-term goals leading to long-term habits is important. And I think that's not just true in sports. I think that's true in all of our co-curricular activities. You know, I think about, you know, every once in a while we'll have a student who will be in violation of a policy during the school year. And either part of it goes into their next season, or it happens at the end of the season, so the entire policy is affecting their next sports season. And for that student, it may be that their sport is soccer. And so they violate at the end of basketball, but they want to play soccer. They don't want to lose they don't want to lose a game in soccer. What some of those students do, and you could say they're game in the system, but I don't really, in the long run, don't think they are. Some of them will do things like run track, or they'll join another sport. You know, they'll go play lacrosse. And so all of a sudden, now you have that student who ostensibly could have just spent, you know, that season and all summer doing nothing productive and doing destructive behavior. Instead, now that student's actually involved on a team in a sport. We have more contact with them, and in that way, I think that's an anecdote that I've seen play out several times. And I don't think I can think of a time that's been negative. You know, we had a student who was suspended for a lengthy part of the track season, and the coach at the end of the season said he was great. You know, he was a phenomenal student. He's a great addition to the team. So, you know, I think, you know, one thing that does is lets us keep our connection with the kids a little bit stronger.
So I guess the implication is that by keeping that connection and having them work on the habits of work and their academics, that even though that may not be in their mind of their goal of getting good grades or something like that, that in fact the educational and the social sorts of things that we're trying to do in the regular curriculum has a better chance of sinking in, and there may be students, you know, who could age out or something, but that stay for the sports, but then get the education enrichment program. But you know, gets the education. I mean, it's something that brings students in. And you're right, it's not just sports. It can be music, it can be art, it can be all sorts of things. So So it's not just sort of an add-on to the school, but it's something that keeps them here, and you know, whether they want to or not, they can actually gain from the other aspects of school.
So our next step is to, you know, we've shared it with the faculty. Our next step is to share it with students and to share it with parents. But, no questions. I do have copies of the entire policy. Share these out there. It's riveting.
Any other questions for Steve or for Chris?
Do you have the rubric today, Steve?
Yes, it's on the back of this.
Great.
All right. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How are you? What's your name?
You gonna stay there?
I'm staying over here. I want to see what it's like on this side of the room.
Yes, this.
We need
Chris right there. Excellent. Okay.
How are you going?
All right. So is there, while people are getting readjusted, is there a motion to enter consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? Seconded by Mike. Excellent. All right, so let's go ahead and move into consent agenda for finance, building, and transportation.
All right, finance met on May 4th. And we approved warrant numbers 1147, 1148, 1149, 1151, 52, 53, and 54. The amount of $598,275.86. And then we also approved warrant numbers 1155, 56, 58, 59, and 60. The amount of $387,310.54. And we approved payrolls of April 14th, the amount of $428,505.86. And payroll of April 28th in the amount of $422,814.54. 86 cents and 54 cents seem to be Roman numbers. And would you like to tell us what else we did?
Certainly. Well, we did have several other topics that we touched on. One was reviewing the year-to-date expense position, where we stand with relation to budget, and we have quite a fair amount of money that's already set aside for payroll, or listed for payroll and the remaining expenses. But it looks like we will be in great shape. Few areas a little bit over, some areas significantly under. We're down to about another month, but it looks like we're going to come in pretty good shape in relation to our expense budget, unless some very unusual circumstances happen. We did spend a little bit of time discussing, as mentioned in our last meeting, the endowment fund investment policy. We distributed a draft document for review, and we will, at our June 8th meeting, we will be taking that topic up again. We briefly touched on the continued effort to dispose of the Whetstone Village property, and talked a little bit about the grandstand, which we have agreed we will proceed with the evaluation of the structure's integrity for replacement, improvement, or repair, and try to get some numbers on, ballpark numbers on associated cost. Our next meeting is not until June 8th. It's a little bit off phase with the board meeting this time around due to conflicts with people's ability to attend. So we will be meeting on June 8th at the usual site.
Great, thank you. WSESU Finance.
First, I've gotta say, I like the ballpark estimates for something like that. Anyways, we're meeting a week from Wednesday, May 24th at 5 p.m. in the James Key Room at the central office. Isn't that right?
No, well, we're meeting the 24th at 5 p.m. I think it's going to be here in Cusick.
Oh, is it gonna be at the Goose Group? Okay.
Yes, and we're actually asking members of the negotiating team to be part of that meeting. So that would be Bob and other members from other districts.
Oh,
Because we'll be presenting some information at that meeting, and they'll have an SU board meeting to follow that meeting.
okay.
Excellent. Planning and policy,
Has not met.
okay. Teacher curriculum. Also, I don't think it's met. BAMS,
BAMS has not met.
WRCC,
Has not
Not met.
met.
and WSESU Act 46 Study Committee has not met either.
So the
But
update
you wanna
on
give us an
that is Vernon, through the legislative process, will be able to withdraw from the district from a single vote, from a Vernon vote, so they'll have to do a revote. I think they're planning to plan for that in July. And that will cause the study committee to kind of rethink their position. We had a meeting tentatively scheduled, and some members said they couldn't be there, so we're looking at May 31st. We're gonna try to confirm that, that would be 6 p.m. That's a Wednesday, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not sure of the location yet, and that date is even tentative, but try to meet by the end of May, early June, and kind of regroup and see where things stand.
Yeah, sure.
I presume that will mean that there will be no vote, which will, before June 30th. And so what does that mean financially?
There still is a possibility to do something before November.
And so you have to have a vote, is my understanding, you have to have a vote prior to June 30th.
No, that's changed now.
Oh, it
They
has.
extended those deadlines.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And that's what the study committee has to review.
But if we didn't do that, do you know what the financial implications would be? The $150,000 grant, it would be the possibility of,
Reductions. So those are still in play through the summer, through the fall, actually.
oh, till November 30th. And the incentives also.
Yeah.
There's an email from the School Boards Association
Yeah.
today.
I didn't see it, but Mike told me that there was.
So a few of us met with the Agency of Education Secretary Holcomb and some of the Act 46 reps that she works with, and they outlined the Vernon issue, and then the fact that those dates were extended, so it allows the study committee to reconsider a merger option.
Great, thank you. Any other questions about that? All right, excellent. All right, is there a motion to approve consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved and seconded?
Second.
Second, okay. All in favor of accepting consent agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Seeing none. Let's move to administrative reports. Why don't we start down at the far end and work our way up to BAMS.
Hi, everyone. Few events I just want to highlight that have happened recently. Let's see. 2 weeks ago, we had a special presentation. The Brattleboro Area Prevention Coalition helped us fund a presenter. His name's Ty Sells, and he was in. He met with the 7th, 8th, and 9th graders in the high school auditorium, and he had a different approach to mainly marijuana use, and just his message was a little, it was a different approach than I've seen. he talked about this, that he wasn't gonna talk a lot about statistics and all that, but it was an interesting approach. He was pretty funny, so he had people really laughing, and it was a good message, and hopefully it had a positive impact, or at least made some students think twice about the dangers of substance abuse. So I was really happy to have that take place. We'll see. We did the National Walk at Lunch Day on last Monday. It's a few weeks delayed because of the SBAC testing we were doing. Kids participated, did a couple laps around the track, and just a way to promote physical exercise. And the staff helped out with that. We'll see. We are doing 8th graders are taking their 3rd set of tests this spring. They did the NAEP, the National Assessment for Educational Progress, this winter. Then they did the SBACs, Math and English, and this week they're doing the Science kneecap. So that's a paper and pencil test for the most part with a lab and stuff. So that's a 3-day, 3 hour and a half, they're about an hour and a half long test sessions for the 8th graders. So I think this was supposed to be the last year of the kneecap test, and they would merge into something more electronic. I'm not sure where they're at with that. And then a few events coming up. Well, with music, we had the All-State, I'm sure Mr. Perrin will talk more about the All-State week, but our marching band marched in the All-State Music Festival, so it was a highlight. Understand they performed very well. And then their Pops concert is coming up on the 18th, so I'd love to have any of you join for that. It's always a fun event. The 19th, which is Friday night, we have our annual dress-up dance. So that'll be in the multi-purpose room, and kids love it, and they get really excited. It's really well attended always, and that's always the best dance of the year. It's a lot of fun. The kids are always well behaved. And last but not least, we did our retirement dinner the other night, and a highlight for us was Dawn Petrovsky, who is our registrar. She was awarded the Madeline Moore Award, the Outstanding Employee of the Year. It was split with Barbara McLaughlin, who's a special educator working in both buildings. So it was great to have 2 years in a row. BAMS has had a member, Sue Mitchell last year and Dawn this year. So Dawn's just a wonderful person for our school, and does many things behind the scenes to make it a great place. So that's what I have. Any questions about BAMS?
What time is the Pops concert?
7 p.m.
7.
Yep. And we're right into the final few weeks here, and just a lot of stuff coming up. So many field trips and great events going on for the students.
Okay, thank you. Let's move to the high school.
So before I forget, I do want to remind the board and invite you to the Senior Award Art Show, which will be May 25th in the multipurpose room right after school. That has really developed into a great showcase of senior artwork, and there's usually some snacks prepared by our foods classes as well, which are pretty amazing as well. They've done, in past years, they've done an amazing job of transforming that kind of utilitarian space into a gallery, a functional gallery, and they have nice hangings, and they put up nice dividers, and so it's a great, they put a lot of work into it. It's a great event. Based on that, we'll also be announcing our senior art purchase. Every year we purchase a piece of student artwork, and we'll be announcing that as well. And that's a tradition started by Gary Blomgren that we've proudly kept on. So again, it's the 25th, right after school. You can stay as long as you want, or until you get thrown out.
3:30-ish?
Yeah, about 3:30. So, yeah. The Experiment for International Learning has just let us know who will be in the 2017 summer programs for the Experiment. And I want to recognize these students and their destinations. Evie Williams will be traveling to Brazil. Mira Ann Siri will be going to Nicaragua and Cuba. Leah Amazon will be going to Italy. Jake Hoskins will be going to Japan. Zev Kazadi Morgan to South Africa. Kaya Dean will be going to Ireland. Amelia de Flora del Fabria will be going to Thailand. Eliza Price will be going to France, and Olivia Ortleb will be going to Costa Rica. So we're proud of those students. They go through a pretty rigorous process, and we're very proud of their acceptance. Along those same lines, we've also got the list of students who will be going to the Governor's Institute this summer. And again, a stellar list of students who work very hard. Riley Sullivan will be going for the arts. Julia Belyoung will be going for current issues in youth activism. Eli Carter for astronomy. Caden Leary for current issues in youth activism. Mason Powers for information technology and digital media. Mason Redfield for architecture, design, and building. And Mycroft Stone will be going for the arts. And I want to give a shout out to Kevin Martell, who took over this year kind of shepherding the Governor's Institute process. He'd never done it before, and he's done a pretty decent job of kind of moving things along with some help along the way from Mr. Woodworth as well. So,
not much help. I appreciate the work that he did, and these are great institutes. The architecture one is a new one, and it's the program. I've seen what the program is, and it's really going to be spectacular. I think that's going to be a great one ongoing. And they're all good.
They're all fantastic.
Great experience for everybody.
And many of our graduates look at their time at a Governor's Institute as really forming their post-secondary plans, really kind of solidifying what they want to do. And I've also seen some students whom I thought would leave BUHS, who went to a Governor's Institute and got turned around and really said, wow, this is what I can do with my life, and have really gotten invested in it. So it's a wonderful program. 2 Saturdays ago, we had the junior prom here at BUHS. It's always nice to have the prom on site. It's kind of, they do a great job of making it look less like a gym and more like a ballroom. A lot of uplighting, a lot of globes hanging from the ceiling. And I want to recognize the work that Lisa Johnson and Sherry Lewis, the class advisors, did. They worked pretty tirelessly to organize things. Great DJ. They had a photo booth where students could take some silly pictures, and they even Kona Ice even came and gave out snow cones to everybody. So it's a little chilly, but people still like the snow cones. The big news has, of course, been the All-State Music Festival, and I cannot say enough. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again: the work that Steve Rice has done, organizing that along with Mary Bandish, Patty Meyer. And the list goes on and on of people. Riley Goodemo, they've all done phenomenal work preparing housing, preparing road signs, organizing menus. In our cafeteria, Jackie Thomas, who is fairly new to us, she just took over from John Ayer, who took another position. She stepped in, and I said, are you ready to feed 400 extra kids and then feed them on Friday night and Saturday? And she said, sure, we'll see what happens. And she unflappable, and she did a great job of moving the kids through, and it was good food. It was a nice menu. So if you ever get a chance to try the Korean sloppy joes, they're awesome. And my very biggest news of all, and this is really, really huge. Last week, our unified basketball team went to Castleton University, and they won the state championship. Last Monday, they won an overtime game against Mill River to go to the finals. And then last Thursday, they played an incredible Champlain Valley team. And the partner players were great. All of the players were wonderful, and we won 46-45. And it was a great moment for BUHS, but more importantly, it was a great moment for the students. And I will never forget the moment when one of their players was dribbling down the court, and all of our partner players and other players just kind of parted to let this young lady take a shot. And then we got the rebound. No, she actually made the shot. So, if you ever get a chance to go to a unified basketball game, it's a great experience. And we're thrilled for these players, and we're thrilled for their accomplishments. So if you see anything, to congratulate them and congratulate Coach Todd Bell as well. He worked really hard. It was great.
I just mentioned that Steve had a meeting in Barry, Vermont during the day, and he wanted to get over to Castleton. There's no easy way to do the state, but he made it, and it was great that he was there to witness that and cheer it on, so thank you for that.
I have to say, I've seen us win a lot of big games and state championships, and this might have been the sweetest, just to watch that game. Both teams, the CVU players were gracious and they were hardworking, and everybody just came together, and it was a real celebration of sports. Yes, Ms. Clark.
Please explain to me what is unified basketball?
Unified Basketball is a program, and it just started last year, and so we've now won half of the championships. You know, get that? It's a program where we partner with Special Olympics, and you take students who have various challenges, and there's 3 players on the team, on the court, and then there's 2 partner players. And our partner players were students like Shanice Taliaferro, Tatiana Mitchell, Tanner Bell, Taylor Patno, and what the partner players do is they basically help set up the plays and help the players kind of have a good experience. Partner players are not allowed to shoot. They can rebound, they can't shoot. There's other things they can't do. But the idea is that it really showcases that all of our students can be strong athletes, and they can all find success in an athletic field or court.
And both genders play?
Yep, it's a mixed team.
On the same team?
Yeah, mixed teams. Yep.
Okay.
If you go to WCAX in the video section, they have a little clip on the game with some highlights.
Yeah, and they interviewed our players.
There was a play where Kaylee Nicholson shot it, and she missed, and Taylor Patno grabbed the rebound, or somebody else did pass it to Taylor, and then he passed it back to Kaylee, and then she made the next shot. It was just great.
I've had the pleasure since last Thursday to talk to most of the kids on that team, partner players and non-partner players, and we're all probably more excited than anything else they've ever done by winning that. All the kids, they were so excited. It was really great. Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, great, thank you. You have a resignation?
Oh, thank you. So I was hoping it would go away if I didn't mention it. So I am sad to report that in the math department, Ms. Tara Cloutier, who's been with us for 2 years, we hired her 2 years ago at Keene State College. She has signed a contract closer to home, and she was doing quite a commute, and so she has tendered her resignation effective at the end of this year. So first I would ask the board to accept that resignation.
I move we accept the resignation of Tara Cloutier with regret.
Second.
I moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
And so we are in the middle of a search process already for another math position for Mr. O'Donnell's retirement. So we're just going to expand that search a little bit more.
Right, is that it?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's move down to the Career Center.
This Wednesday, WRCC Electronics will be attending the Museum of Science in Boston. 40 students will be going with Mr. Houghton to this trip. Every other year, he signs up students and he attends this. It's a great turnout for kids, and it's for a lot of kids, it's the first time ever to Boston that he brings, so it's pretty exciting for them to check it out. So hopefully they'll have a great day. It's supposed to be nice weather. Our 2017 and 2018 enrollment numbers are in from our sending schools. And this year, we have from Bellows Falls 9 students. And in years past, we've had 1 or 2 from Bellows Falls. And according to their principal, it's because of our schedule change for next year, our AM and PM schedule. Students want to come here, get their career technical education programming, and go back to their home school to be with their peers and to work on their academics. So, Hinsdale numbers are 17.
Wow.
They are usually hovering around 7 to 9. Leland and Gray are at 13 students, which is great. And Twin Valley will be at around 16 as well. So for a total of 55 sending school students next year. Last year, we had around 38 students. So we're really excited about the increase in numbers, and hopefully they'll continue to grow as well over the next 3-year period, because it'll be nice. I want to do an adult education report for the school year. 127 attendees participated in classes throughout WRCC this year. 45 participated in our online Ed2Go format. 500 participated in our classroom trainings that we have here on campus. So those are really exciting and really thought out trainings, and some examples of those trainings include Wyndham Childcare facilities use our facilities, forklift operations, Serve Safe, OSHA 10, and sign language. And I want to just thank Betsy Gentili for being a wonderful addition to our staff, and she's been doing this for the past 10 years here at WRCC, and she's retiring this year. She's going to be sorely missed, and gonna have some big, very large shoes to fill to get all these programs, you know, to stick with these programs and the amount of people that take advantage of these programs. We're looking to grow next year as well, so hopefully the new person in charge will be able to lead that charge forward. On June 6th this year, we're trying something new at the Career Center, and we're going to have a career day or a career fair for our seniors that are undecided and not have chosen a career path or post-secondary education. And we're going to invite some local employers that we work with on a yearly basis in for a panel and discussion to explain to our students the jobs they are hiring for starting this summer. And our hope is to have about 10 employers here that will be bringing applications with them, so students will be able to walk out with a job offer. And thanks to Ray Dunn, our co-op coordinator, and Ann Doran, our guidance counselor, for arranging this great event for our seniors and some juniors that are looking for summer employment as well. Should be interesting, and it's just some of the employers that we have invited are Commonwealth Dairy, Sosamo Lumber, and a representative from Dartmouth Hitchcock will also be here to employ some of our students. They have a lot of entry-level job openings here in Cheshire, over in Keene, and also in West Lebanon at their main campus. So should be a great day for our seniors that are undecided, and we're going to help them hopefully choose a path for a great career with the skills they have learned here at the Career Center. A reminder that we are having our awards night June 7th at 5 p.m. at BAM's multi-purpose room, so I hope to see a lot of parents and board members there as well. And board members, let me know if you need a ticket, I'll get one for you. And that's it.
Okay, thank you so much. Central office.
Just to reiterate those dates, I won't say them again, but for the SU board meeting that will be on the 24th, just confirming that Ruth, the voting members, Ruth, Ann, and Russ are available. And I think Bob, we're hoping that you'll be there as well. Should be there early.
And it's here.
I believe it's here. Yeah. And we'll get that out in the agenda. And then just some upcoming items for the next meeting. We'll have you authorize your committees to act during the summer months on June 5th. And then I think Frank would like to have you deal with the food service contract. It's year 5 of the 5-year contract. And I know June 5th is before your finance committee meeting, so I'm not sure how that will go.
Yeah, have to hopefully coordinate that so we can
Yeah.
at least review.
Yeah, I'll ask Frank to get information out to the finance committee at least before your meeting, before this June 5th meeting, so at least you have that information. And that's it for me.
Great. Excellent. The only thing that I have, and it's less of a report and more of a request, is Ian couldn't be here this evening because he's ill, but he sent me to tell me that he wasn't going to be here, and he also said that if he was going to be here tonight, he was going to ask to step down as chair of the 2 committees that he chairs, which is Planning and Policy and TCC. So we're going to need to fill people that are on that committee, those committees, to step up as chairs of the committee to coordinate the committees and things like that. He just doesn't feel like he can do, he's not doing justice to it and feels like he can't do that. So if you're on TCC or Planning and Policy right now, feel like you can take that on, that would be great, let me know, and we can make it official at our next meeting. But think about that so that we can get chairs in place, especially where we're going to be going into summer rules.
Mm-hmm.
The chairs of those committees are a little bit, there's a little bit just extra making sure things are taken care of in the summertime because of the summer rules. That's all that I had.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Where's the RAB meeting again?
It's in this room,
This room?
and it was last Tuesday.
It was last Tuesday. Oh my God.
Sorry.
Sorry. I guess I won't be there tomorrow then.
But the June 7th meeting is a great celebration of the Career Center for students.
Is that here?
That's at the band multi-level center, June 7th at 5 p.m. It's a great event.
The award night?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay.
We have the RAD schedule tentative for next year, so
Maybe I should get it now.
fairly solid, isn't it? Yeah.
Great. All right, is there any unfinished business to come before us tonight? Any new business? None? Okay.
Hearing none, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? All right, we are adjourned.